Greetings, everybody. Nina here from Beyond Truth. Welcome to another show. Tonight, we're going to be talking about UFO and some recent sightings that have been going on. Some of them we remember, some of them we don't. So stay tuned, everybody. But before we do, welcome, Robert. How you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great. Can't wait for this one. It's going to be exciting because who doesn't love to see a UFO? And if you haven't seen one, well, just look up. They're
There
there.
has been a lot of sightings, and some of you may have seen some of it. And I know when we were preparing for the show here, we're like, oh, yeah, I do remember that. But I don't really remember that. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like we're bombarded almost on the daily with some sensational something is going on, and we're just overloaded. And honestly, they can sort of sneak things in there, and then we forget because we're just so overloaded. So tonight I thought, you know what? Let's go back just in the last year or two, honestly, and look back at all these things because we do know Trump just had that tweet about disclosing UFO files and all this kind of stuff. So we know there's a lot of things coming up. And so before we get there, let's just go over just the last year or two of all the sightings and all the things that have been going on that they have released, because that is disclosure right there. That's like a slow, I guess, disclosure, you know, or soft disclosure, you know what I mean? Just a little bit here, a little bit there before the whole releasing the files type of thing happens, you know? So, and I'm sure a lot of you probably like us have probably forgotten about some of these things. So stay tuned, everybody. Make sure that you get comfortable. Smash that like button as you're rolling in here. And if you don't mind sharing it to a friend or two, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay. And we might as well just get right into it, eh? So
Yeah.
Robert's going to do some sharing of visuals here for us while I do all the talking.
Oh yeah,
And
you,
so,
you bet. You
yeah.
bet. I just want to say on the little bit with the Trump disclosing, he
Uh-huh.
was kind of prompted by, if you didn't know, Obama, who kind of spilled
Yeah.
the beans earlier, and actually, which made Trump say, kind of like, well, if Obama's talking about it, I got to say something because now everybody wants to know because Obama says he knows.
Well,
So
we all know, and well, if you don't, you hopefully you'll figure this out sooner than later. Trump has a mind of a 2-year-old, so of course he would have to do that, right? Oh yeah, you're going to talk about it. Well, I'm going to show. Oh, I'm going to do that before you. You know what I mean? That's Trump. Okay,
yeah,
so yeah. So that doesn't surprise me. Now the question is he actually going to follow up on that now, though? You know what I mean? So we'll wait and see. But let's go over some of the top stories here for the last year or two that you may or may not remember. I know some of it, I'm like, oh, yeah, I do kind of remember that. So the first one we got here is that jellyfish UFO. Do you guys remember that? So this is in 2024, so not that long ago. Footage from the U.S. military system over Iraq, okay, circulated online showing a strange object that looked like a floating jellyfish. It appears to have tentacle-like appendages. I guess, yeah, whatever you want to call that.
appendage,
It drifts
appendage.
slowly with no visible propulsion. Some reports say it later moved toward the water. Now, this is very interesting. Is this a craft, a sensory anomaly, or something even stranger? What do you think, Robert?
I don't know. I'm looking at these pictures, and I'm telling you, it could be anything. And again, if you look at the top half, it maybe it's really a balloon with sensors and stuff flowing out of it, because and it looks creepy. It looks like a well, it looks like a spider, floating spider or a jellyfish, I guess you could call it. But if, I'm surprised that they didn't shoot it down. And then again, is it one of ours? And they're just not telling us and giving us
Well,
this.
that's just it. I know they're gearing up for the whole fake alien invasion thing. That it's coming. Okay. So is this just a build up and they're just giving us a bunch of nonsense, or is it actually something to this? That's the thing. We don't know, but we do need to look into it, though. You know what I mean? So you guys can go and Google this yourself and look. But it doesn't have propulsion. Like, it's not acting like any technology that we have today that's released out there for the public. Now, what they have behind closed doors, that remains to be seen. Hopefully, that's another file that will be disclosed here soon. But if you want to look at this from a different point of view, more the spiritual way, I guess, and more maybe even conspiracy as well, because if you want to go with the whole flat earth type of thing, they're talking about, space isn't what we think it is, that it's a plasma, sort of plasma field, if you will. We also know, and we've done show on this before, about crafts. Most of them actually seem to sort of dive into the ocean. And we've done a video, I know, in the past about, underwater, what's going on there. I think there's a whole lot more going on there than what they have told us. It's kind of strange how there's no programs about, let's see what's under the water. No, it's only, programs for outer space, but nothing right here on our own planet. So, could it be? You know what I mean? Like, so this is where some of those theories start to make more sense. Because let's just, for entertainment's sake, say that that's the case. Well, a jellyfish could maybe go from the space area down to the water and be quite fine. If it is sort of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's just so much going on. And I got an open mind. I hope the rest of you do too. Sorry?
Under the water is a great place to hide things, because
Yeah.
you could be on a boat. A regular person could be just sailing across the top of you, and the base is right underneath, and you wouldn't even know it.
No, you wouldn't know it, and that's the thing. And they don't have any programs. So why aren't they investigating? Like, the ocean is so deep, they have no idea what's down there. There's all kinds of species, and who knows? They might even, like, we talk about the Anunnaki, we talk about, ETs, UFOs, whatever. Who's to say that they're not living down there right now?
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say that they're not able to breathe under there? They might not need oxygen. Maybe that's not good for them. Who knows? I mean, our minds can go, wild with this. But there's definitely something to it. That whole jellyfish, obviously in the water, but maybe it's even able to float in space. So, which then brings out questions about, flat Earth and the dome and the what is space, all that kind of stuff. It's very interesting. If you have any thoughts on that, put them in the comment section, guys. We're just going to quickly go over this so we don't spend all night here. But just something to think about, guys. The jellyfish UFO. I find that very, very interesting. Is it a craft or is it something stranger? Who knows?
And again, as this last picture shows, it's not new. This has been around for quite a while.
Right. There was something in 18 too, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this last one was 24, but there was something in 2018 as well that he's probably showing you on the screen right now. Yeah, it's not brand new, right? So there's something to it. Like we seem to think that, aliens are like little green men that you see behind me here, right? Or grays or tall Nordics or whatever, something that sort of resembles us, because that's as far as our consciousness kind of goes. But who knows? Aliens might be something completely different. It might look like a jellyfish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're the ones that look strange. You know what I mean? So we got to be open-minded here. Maybe that is the ET right there. We just don't know it because all we see is a jellyfish.
Well, and again, too, we assume that everything that flies either has to be like an airplane, like a helicopter, or a balloon.
Well, that's what I mean. That's as far as our consciousness is able to go, because that's all we've seen. But who knows? Yeah, they might not be flying on that. That's like old-fashioned, I bet you. Yeah. So this might be it. We just don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very interesting. So there's one. So that was, the recent one was in 24, so not that long ago. Now let's move over to the Mosul orb. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm not even sure. But the metallic sphere was filmed over Mosul, Iraq. So again, Iraq. It seems like a lot of these sightings and whatnot is all happening over the Middle East, which we know from the news is a hotspot right now. I'm not even going to go into that here because that's not what this video is about. But it makes you wonder, why are they there in the first place? So we were talking about this before we went live here, and so anyways, we're not going to go into that here. But Mosul, Iraq, it became one of the most talked about Pentagon-linked UFO images, or Pentagon-linked, sorry, UFO images. So it's a perfect spherical shape, no wings or visible propulsion, again, just like the jellyfish, controlled movement in the air. What are metallic orb sightings becoming so common? That is a good question. Do you have any idea about the orbs?
I have no idea. Although in World War II, they did see orbs, but they were bright, shiny, glowing things that would follow the bomber planes as they were flying or doing battle in the sky. And each side would blame the other one and say, oh, they got technology, ahead of us, and they got technology, it's them. And again, here we go. It's starting to get that time where we're going to maybe have another one of those wars, and all of a sudden, here comes the orbs.
That is actually very interesting about going back to the last war, because we're kind of in the third one now, are we not? I would say we are. But going back to the second one, we do know that they got, technology. We do believe from the ETs. We do believe that the political party in charge at that time was in contact with ETs, from what I understand. The whole Bell thing, remember? That's kind of like a sort of the same thing, except this one is a spherical shape. But I guess they can come in all kinds of shapes. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Why would we think that it would only be one?
Well, the bell was what the Germans designed, but the orbs that the pilots were seeing never were actually shot or destroyed any planes. They would fly alongside. They would on by. They were basically observing the war, and
were they helping? You know what I mean, or preventing? Because I do believe, like, if there is such thing as nuclear weapons, which I'm not 100% that there is. If there is, and there is, other beings out there, which obviously there is. I mean, it's pretty naive to think that we're the only species here. If all of that is in fact correct, wouldn't they want to make sure that we don't blow up the place? You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that if we do have nuclear weapons, that they have been able to disarm it. I looking at the leaders today, in the past, they weren't any better people. We just don't know and remember, okay? And if there was such weapons, I'm pretty sure they would have used them already, I mean, if you got somebody like Trump in charge of America, who has a consciousness of a 2-year-old, I mean, there's no way you can allow them to be in charge of such weapons. There's just no way. So I'm pretty sure we've been babysat all along, and it doesn't surprise me that there was orbs, following them, making sure that they're not doing something that they shouldn't be doing.
Well, we do know that there are reports, and this is factual, that UFOs were sighted over military bases that made the weapons all stand down and the power go out, and over nuclear bases. And are they trying?
That's what I'm saying.
It's true. Are they telling us something like, hey, don't think that you got all the power in the world, that you could do this. We could shut you down in a blink of an eye.
Exactly.
And
that's exactly. They're making sure that we remember that they're there. That they're,
Well, like these orbs and these jellyfish. If I was an alien race, I would be putting probes out like this orb. I'd be saying, well, I'm going to put this orb out. It's going to, circle around. It's going to fly around and and observe what is going on and report back to me. because
Exactly. That's exactly what they're doing, of course. Yeah. And so, why do we have more sightings? Why is this becoming so more common? Well, I think we're getting closer, or if not right in the middle of probably the third war. I mean, or shit's about to go down. Okay. We don't know exactly what's happening, but we can all feel it. And these people or these beings, know. And so that's why they're here more now, because they're trying to help us or prevent or whatever, you know what I mean? Because whatever we do here, if we blow up this planet, it is going to affect the whole universe, not just us. And so we're not the only ones here, you know what I mean? So yeah, there's other beings who are heavily invested in what we're doing here, is what I believe. That's my opinion. So that's why I think it's more common now, because we are getting close to whatever it is that's about to happen, and we've had a few resets before. So, is that what's happening here? Is it all going to be controlled more by them, not just, the leaders? I don't know. We'll see. But let's just keep going down here, because there's so many things we can talk about, honestly. There's so much going on, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Well, the third one we're going to look at tonight is the Tic Tac UFO.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that the reason why we call it a Tic Tac is because it looks like a Tic Tac, the mint that we, have all tried at some point, I'm sure. Navy pilots describe a white object shaped like a Tic Tac that accelerated instantly and outmaneuvered fighter jets. So again, we don't, as far as we know, we don't have that kind of technology, outmaneuvering fighter jets, so.
Okay. You got to change the screen again. There you go.
Oh.
Yeah, I had to close out so I can get the picture up. There you go.
Oh,
There's your
there we go. Is that the Tic Tac one?
Yep, that's the Tic Tac one.
All right. So apparently this thing has no wings, no exhaust, no visible engines. It's tracked by radar and infrared systems. Still officially unexplained. They don't know. So this thing doesn't have radar, doesn't have the infrastructures that, no visible engines, no exhaust, no wings. Like, we don't have that technology.
Yeah. And of course, it wasn't flying in straight lines. It wasn't going like a plane would. It would go straight up, straight down. It would defy the laws of gravity. It would go faster. It would, again, as the pilots reported, it was kind of like leading them to chase it. And then some of them actually, back to what you were saying earlier, went into the water or came out of the water. And it makes you think, well, was there a base there? Is it really following these planes under the water at the same time?
It does seem that most of these, flying whatever, different shapes, different things, different times, all seem to go under the water. So there's no doubt in my mind that there's a whole lot more going on under there than we realize. Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, what else, So, is it human tech, foreign tech, or non-human intelligence? We don't really know, because we're at least 100, if not 200 years behind the technology that they've given us, right? Mm-hmm. We only have like a little snippet of what's actually out there. So we don't really know how far they've come. So I can't really answer that question, because I don't know how much they already have. If I did, then I would be able to figure out, no, this is not, or yes, this is. We use this all the time.
If you had that information, if you had that information right now, the men in black would be knocking at your door.
Wouldn't they though? Right? Exactly. I'm kind of glad that I don't. I just do these shows and ask questions, and I'm hoping that maybe one of these days somebody who does know is going to watch my video and is going to comment down below and maybe even come on the show. You know what I mean? So if that's you, email me.
We won't reveal your identity. You can come on with a black screen. That's no worries.
That's right. Hey, whatever you need, we'll figure that out. No worries. Yes, I love that. Or at least comment down below. So yeah, you know, we don't have any answers here. You know, we're just looking at it here, but it definitely is not of the, you know, technical stuff that we have today, that we're using today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you make up your mind what the heck this is, right? But they don't seem to come in all kinds of shapes and whatever. Now the next one, which is the fourth one, we're going into UFO and military weapons. I don't think we have any slides for that or pictures
Yeah.
for you. I don't know if he's
We
got
do.
anything. Oh, you do? Okay, there you go. I'll leave that part up to Robert there. Some insiders claim certain UFOs appear immune to modern weapons, including missiles fired at unknown glowing objects. So this is now it's getting scary. Because if these things are immune to the weapons that we have, well, then we're kind of screwed, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, electromagnetic shielding or plasma field is a theory, you know, and then we're going back to the plasma field again. There's a lot more to this whole plasma thing, I think, than we have been told. You know, if this is true, this suggests technology beyond current military systems. That's right. Which is why it gets a little bit scary, you know. Now, could some craft be operating with defense systems we do not understand? What do you think, Robert?
Well, yeah, because if we're behind on the technology, our brain only allows us to recognize what we see. It's like this here. I look at this picture and I say, "Well, that looks like a tank. I've seen something similar to that before," so I can recognize it. But if you put that out there 100 years ago, people would look at that. They wouldn't know what the heck it is. They wouldn't know what any of it's about. What are all those things on it? What does it do? You know, they wouldn't have no idea what radar is or those little shiny laser thing cannons do or anything. I mean, we're oblivious to this stuff. You know, we just recognize and can associate what we see. And again, that's where you go back in time. Of course, I like history, and history says that even in the Bible, Ezekiel's wheel, he described it, chariots of fire in the sky. Well, you know what? We know better that there is no chariot in the sky pulled by horses, you know, on fire up there. They were trying to describe.
It would sound like that, you know. If you imagine like chariot with a bunch of horses, you know, what would that sound like? Kind of like a helicopter, you know what I mean? So I can see why the people back in the biblical times would, you know, call it that, or you know what I mean. So
and if it had a rocket on it, it might sound like it was a bunch of horses. It would shoot fire from the bottom.
Like a dragon, right? It was like a dragon shooting fire out, and you know, like, you know what I mean. So this is where all this is coming from, right? They saw something like this and they couldn't understand it, you know. So try to put it into their consciousness of what they know, into their words, you know, of their time. So yeah. So it's kind of interesting, isn't it?
That's my thoughts, and for the fact of the future technology, heck, they could have you know, we've seen those triangle aircraft that they talk about all the time, you know, and people have seen and reported, and well, maybe those are ours. You know, we've designed those things. They seem to have been around. Like the TR-3B, you know, they even made scale models of those for people to put together, and yet we've never really seen them flying around or advertised as one of ours. But they don't have wings. What are they doing? How are they flying? One of the most famous pictures was one parked on a U.S. Air Force aircraft carrier, and somebody went, "What the heck is that thing?" And that was the end of that story.
Yeah, well, going back to what we talked earlier, you know, if we only knew exactly what they had, you know, available, is when we would be able to distinguish, oh, is this us or is it something else? You know what I mean? But because we don't know that,
Yeah,
we just sit here and scratch our heads, right? We don't know exactly, what this
just
is.
imagine 100 years from now when maybe UFO looking aircraft and wings are a thing of the past and everything's anti.
I'm sure it is.
And
Yeah.
and look at us, and we're talking with her. This is all recorded, so they get on there and they go, "Oh, look at these people that were talking about UFOs.
Yeah.
Those are everywhere now."
I know.
Didn't they know
Well,
what they were looking at? How silly were those people?
oh yeah. Well, when you look at the last 100 years, how much we have developed, right? It was just like bang,
Yeah.
bang, bang. And so if we're going to continue on that way, yeah, 100 years from now, holy smokes, I can only imagine. I'm pretty sure it's going to be like Star Wars, or just beam me up, Scotty, and that's how we
Yeah.
travel, and all this kind of stuff. We're not going to be sitting in tin cans getting radiated and all this kind of stuff. No, that's old fashioned, So that's coming actually sooner than you think, to be honest. I've talked about the whole plane thing and whatever, but anyways, yes, very interesting. So let's just move on over then to the Pentagon UFO program. The U.S. government now openly investigates UFO through AARO, the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. Hundreds of unresolved cases has been logged. Military pilots continue to report encounters. Radar and infrared data are part of the investigation. Is this slow disclosure or just damage control? What do you think?
I don't know, but as you can see by these pictures for the AARO, here's the Southeast Asia triangles, and there are bunches of triangles put together, and then it looks like they got little nets on this one. They call them fishing nets, and they're traveling in groups like a swarm of drones would. See, now that we have the terms and we know what certain things are, we go, oh, now I know what these are. These are drones. They're acting like drones. Mm-hmm. But 50 years ago, we just go, oh my gosh, look at that. They look like half saucers or something, or weird shapes or triangles. I don't know what they're doing.
A kid's toy flying around or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, that's how they would describe them. But again, look at this one here. Looks like a top, because that's how I want to associate it in my brain. It looks like a top. Today, well, maybe it looks like something else, and tomorrow it looks like these here looks like a drone. These little triangle things remind me of a drone. Those aren't nets; those are propeller blades. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. So you got the AARO, and I don't know how to read the Vista Nostra S, whatever, cognosis. What that means, I don't know, but it's Greek, I guess.
Sounds Greek to me. Yes.
Yes.
So let's move on from that then. Yeah. Very interesting. Is it slow disclosure or just damage control? I do believe that we have been under slow disclosure for a while now, and I do believe that full disclosure is coming. We know the movie's coming out here this summer, and there's all kinds of things. I do believe that I've heard, I should say, that Trump will be releasing the alien files in July. So I do believe that this will be the summer of the aliens, so stay tuned, everybody. This is, just a little reminder here, I guess, today, about what's happened here before all of that comes, you see. So that hopefully it's still fresh in your mind, sort of. But yeah. All right, let's go. The next thing is the Alaska shootdown.
Yeah.
In February. So this is February of 2023. So not that long ago. A U.S. fighter jet shot down an unidentified object over Alaska. Details about what it was never became fully clear. Apparently it was described as a metallic and cylindrical, reportedly flying about, sorry?
Cylindrical.
There you go. Cylindrical. It's CYLINDRICAL. Cylindrical. It's a new word, people. I learned a new word. I don't know exactly what it means, but there it is. Reportedly flying at about 40,000 feet. No
Mm.
clear public recovery explanation followed. Sorry, I was going to say allowed, followed. So they never explained afterwards
Of
what it
course,
was, or whatever.
of
No
course.
follow.
Yeah. Why would you explain to the public? We're on a need to know basis, and we don't need to
I
know.
guess so, right? I know. What exactly did they shoot down? And why did this story disappear?
And that's the big thing. When the government shoots something down, we know by it started back out in Roswell days, Roswell, New Mexico. We all know the story really well, where an alien craft got knocked down and blah blah blah, and the old farmer said, "Oh yeah, I found something in my field," and they went, "Oh my gosh, it's a UFO! It's an and there was little aliens, and da da da." And the next day, it was dummies in a weather balloon. And ever since then, it's been fog. It was the moon and Uranus, fog over Uranus, and swamp gas and everything but a UFO,
Right.
everything but alien.
So that's the problem, is that they gaslit so many things, and put in, decoys. Look over here, look over here. So you don't really know which one is real and what is not. But this was something that, it's unidentified object. We don't know. And it's over Alaska. So that's kind of, probably nobody saw it, I'm assuming. Maybe it was in the ice or something. I don't know exactly where it was, but
Yeah.
yeah, and they just covered it up. So, and that alone, just by them doing that, makes me suspicious right away. That, why is it that they're not following up? They just nothing to see here, and just buried that story. I bet you a lot of people don't remember this. I know I didn't before today. And so this is why we do shows like this. Let's remember, and this is just the last couple of years, people. Never mind all the other stuff that's happened before that, that has been covered up. And if the media doesn't talk about it, we forget about it, because Lord knows our attention span isn't that big, So, yeah. So just because of that, hiding it, no explanation, blah, 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 that makes me super suspicious and makes me think that, yeah, it was something that, it's not one of ours. So,
Well, I mean, there's been tons of this stuff, and crashes in Ohio, crashes here, especially in South America. I mean, I just researched a story about them crashing in South America somewhere, and they had people who seen the aliens and point blank, arm's length away. Yet the government came in and unidentified planes. They scooped up all the aliens and the debris and everything like that, just like they do on X-Files. I mean, because X-Files, all those shows, are all trying to tell you something. And then after that, everybody was signed non-disclosure agreements, and the world went back to the way it was.
exactly. X-Files is a good one. If you guys missed that, if you're a young person, you may have missed that show. I wonder I think it might be on Netflix or something like that now, but it was a weekly TV show back in the 90s or whatever it was. And yeah, I love that show. And there's been some episodes that are come to my attention later, right? That,
Yep.
oh my, yeah, it's disclosure. They're telling you what's going on. Okay, but they put it in a show so that we just think it's entertainment and fiction and whatever, but it's actual information that is disclosed to you via movies. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the way they do it. So when people say, "Oh, the Men in Black showed up," or there was a crash in my
Yeah. Oh,
backyard,
you just
military
seen
was
that in
out
the
there.
movie. Yeah. You
Yeah,
just seen that in the movie. It's just your imagination. Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it makes you start wondering about things like for me, I knew there was wasn't it a few years back, there was a train derailment in Canada, I think it was, and they
Mm.
literally burned down the whole town and evacuated
Yeah.
everybody. And I keep thinking, was it really a train derailment that burned down a whole town?
There's
You
probably
know,
something else going on there. Yeah.
you know,
Covering up something, getting rid of something.
well, and then again too, there was a few years back too. Just there was that chemical spill in Ohio or Pennsylvania or something,
Mm,
and what did the fire department do? They did the all things. The worst thing is light the chemicals on fire, which
mm.
pretty much everybody knows you're not supposed to light the chemicals on fire because the fire spreads the particles of the chemicals, and they had to evacuate people for 100 miles because of the fumes and the
That's why they
toxicity.
have to evacuate. Okay, well, I see. There you go. I heard about that story, and I knew people had to evacuate, but I didn't know it was because they put it on fire. See,
Yeah,
they
so
probably kind of toned down that story by the time it got here to Canada. I don't know, but
well, and
yeah.
that's exactly it. It's like, wow, they had to evacuate everybody for 100 miles. So now you got 100 miles of no
So the
traffic,
whole
no.
town just empty. So it makes you wonder, there could be a lot of things going on there.
Yeah.
We can use our
Could this,
imagination on that,
could this be a planned thing? Like, well, we got to cover this up. I'm not saying this is actual. I'm just using my imagination, people. But
Yeah.
if we got a situation here, what can we do to cover it up? How can we get everybody to believe this? Because if I showed up at your door and said, "Hey, there's an evacuation, you got to leave," you'd say, "What for?" And I'd have to give you a reason because you wouldn't want to leave otherwise. Oh, there's poisonous
So
gas. See the
yeah,
smoke over there? That could kill you. A chemical spill, and you could die. So hurry up, get out of here, and you pack your bags and leave. But if I just knocked on your door and said, "Hey, you need to leave for like X amount of hours," or you'd be like, "No, I'm not." Yeah. Why? Why you want me to leave? Because I need a reason.
yeah. So to expand your mind even more, from what I hear now, if you remember, so this isn't part of this thing, but it kind of is, I guess, if you just wait till the end of the story. But remember the fire in California, and I'm trying to remember the city, and I think it's sort of like a religious name or something like that. In California, that burnt down. I think it was one of the first times when the dew went and just burnt out a section.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was a couple of years ago then, right?
Yeah,
Not
what
last.
was that place in California? You might want to look it up maybe. But from what I hear is that there were beings, so alien beings living there. And the reason for the fire was to get rid of them or something like that. They were getting rid of evidence, getting rid of beings, basically burnt them out, from what I understand.
Paradise.
When I hear
Paradise.
stories like this, it makes you wonder, like, how many times, so if that's true, how many times does that happen where they blame it on, oh, yeah, we had a spill, we had to evacuate the whole town? Well, maybe there's more to that story than what we know. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. So that was back in 2018. Was one of those first big fires where they had
yeah.
to evacuate everybody, and that
What
was a
was
kind of
the
a
town called?
weird fire too. Remember, people said there was blue beams coming down from the sky,
Yeah.
and the houses had all burnt. But let's see if I can get some of the images
Except for
here
the
for
blue,
you
blue
guys.
roofs and the blue
Yeah.
strollers and the blue umbrellas, they ain't burnt.
Well,
And the trees
yeah,
don't
that
burn.
was exactly. This was one of those first fires, and the
Was one of
cars.
the first ones. And so for a while, what is it called in California? Some religious name.
It was paradise.
Paradise, that's what it was. I knew it was something like that. Paradise, California. From what I hear, now I don't know if this is true or not, hearsay, but that there were beings not from
Yeah.
around here that were living there and they wanted them gone or something like that.
And again, when we look at the destruction of the fires, isn't it amazing? From
Hmm.
this picture, I can't blow it up. I'm sorry, but you can look at this and see the houses. All the houses burnt, and everything around it's still kind of green. You know,
It's
I mean,
very obvious when the dew is which is direct energy weapons. When they use those, it's very easy to spot. And so that's what happened to Maui, and that's what happened to the other part of LA, because there was another fire there that was directly above the underground city thing. It's very obvious when you see them doing it on purpose. And most of the times nowadays, anyways, it's because there is a smart city being built there. And so
Yeah.
they need to, it's easier for them to just burn it all down, excavate it all, and start fresh rather than try to implement all the smart systems in the grid that's there now, because it won't work. So they need to just burn it down from scratch.
Again, Nina, you could be onto something. If there was aliens living there and they knew there was one of the houses was their base or their place of residence or something, you would just burn down every house.
Burn down the whole neighborhood.
Yeah, because you can see these houses all burnt down, but yet the pine trees, and I know what a pine tree does. Pine trees, when they get too hot, they literally explode because
remember a Christmas tree when it gets too dry, how fast that thing burns up? I mean, trees burn up like.
Look at the pine trees here and here and there and here and there. They're not burnt. Oh, this one is, but all these other pine trees are not burnt. Pine trees are the first swings of the green, the grass is green, but the houses, every single one of the houses.
Well, it's not just the house, but the cars are literally melted. You know what kind of energy or heat that you would need to melt steel? I mean, you know what I mean? And all this stuff, but yet the tree next to it is fine.
Yeah.
It's impossible. That's not physics. That's not how what fires do. It's just mathematically impossible. So it's very obvious when they're doing it. So anyways, that's not what this video is about, but it does kind of bleed into a little bit about, with, what's going on here and what has been going on, you know what I mean? So, there's more to it. But let's move on to the next one then. What do we got here? NASA's UFO statement.
Oh, yes.
NASA acknowledged that some UFO sightings remain unexplained and deserve scientific investigation. Many sightings involve real physical objects. Some show unknown flight characteristics. NASA wants better sensors and data collection. Why would NASA openly admit this now? What do you think, Robert?
Well, because they want to disclose at the same time they want to, keep you in the dark. According to this, again, they're saying there is no evidence of unidentified anomalous phenomenon, but while not ruling out the possibility of alien life. So that at the same time they're saying a negative and a positive, they're canceling out the same thing they're saying. It's like, oh, there could, but there couldn't be. Not, and then it says, well, we don't have any evidence of alien existence. Let's take the scientific approach. And the agency claims to reduce the stigma associated with reporting UAPs. Well, because again, people report them or they don't. Well, let's go back. They don't report them because guess what? You report it, you're a nutcase. Oh, you see a UFO, you're a nut. You don't. You're
the gas. Yes. Oh, yes.
It was swamp gas, you idiot. You didn't see anything.
Yeah. And they gaslight us. Makes us feel like we're in the wrong or did something stupid or and then it makes us shut down and not say anything. Yeah.
And then of course at the end they're saying data limitations. The report noted that there are currently too few high-quality observations to draw firm scientific conclusions. Oh, every photo we looked at was blurry. and then again, NASA, the last piece is NASA says, we're going to do transparency, and they will work to gather better data and share their findings openly. We don't have anything. All the pictures are blurry. We're trying to make it like, if you say something, you're nuts, and we're going to take the scientific approach, which we have no evidence of, and therefore we'll be transparent about it. It's almost laughable. I mean, isn't it amazing how they can tongue twist words and you can read that and go, wow, they're going to be transparent with us. And but then they're going to
It's
use
like
the
the car
scientific.
sales. The used car salesman says, you can trust me, right? Yeah.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. What does NASA stand for? No straight answers, and you're getting that with them, totally and completely. As you can read by this, there no alien evidence. Nope, we never found anything. We went all the way to the moon. There was nothing. You people, thousands of people a year either say they got abducted, seen a UFO, taken a picture of a UFO, have video of a UFO, and yet there's no evidence. What do you think of that?
Yeah. There you go. I don't know. It's just a whole lot more questions, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, you can go with the conspiracy theorists and say, yeah, Bigfoot lives in UFOs and he comes down and jumps out and runs around and
Oh
scares
gosh.
everybody. And that's why you see UFOs, because it's Bigfoot flying them.
Well,
And you
so
can never
this is what happens
either.
is that you get a lot of disinformation out there. They'll
Right.
spew out some truths, right? But then they'll gaslight and then they'll spew out some disinformation, and it just makes our head spin. We don't know from front to back anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, exactly.
and never mind then when you add in AI, Photoshop, and all of this kind of stuff, because you can't really trust anything that you watch, on the screen, and just because Google gave it to you doesn't mean, you know what I mean? Like, we just don't know, and we're sort of in
Well,
that in between stage right now,
and
with this technology.
with AI and all this faking videos and pictures and stuff, it only helps them, because now
Yeah.
we don't know what to trust.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So they could be showing us something completely for real, and we're like, yeah, right. That looks fake. No way. Right?
Well,
So,
exactly. That's why I love history, because history talks about, seeing these things like we just talked about, the orbs from World War II. Tons of these people had seen these orbs. They reported them. They didn't know what they were. They were pretty honest about it. The Bible talks several times about these spacecraft. And you can get these books like, who's a famous guy here that I have, Paul Wallace, and you can read this book here, Escaping from Eden, and he talks about, in the Bible, it says, it talks about spacecraft. It talks about the aliens coming. It says it in black and white. They just didn't know how to explain it in the terms that we do today. Again, we can go to Indian myths and legends, which you can check my show out in Native American Myths and Legends, and it talks about Hiawatha coming to the natives in a flying through the sky in a silver canoe. What? A silver metallic canoe that he
yeah.
was flying down from the sky, and his daughter came. His daughter came in a thunderbird that landed, in front of the Indians and made such a roaring, clapping sound. What does that sound like? Helicopter? And
Yeah.
and he had an
That's kind of what we
airplane.
talked about earlier. Yeah. I know that's their, trying to get it in their words of what they saw. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's all over religious texts as well. And if you want to take the whole Jesus thing literally, I mean, he says he's coming back, through the clouds, or in the clouds. Or what do you think that is? Like, he's not just
Mhm.
falling through the clouds; he's coming down in a ship. If he was going to come down, so I wouldn't be surprised that with the fake alien invasion, maybe they'll throw in a Jesus thing in there too. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Why not?
You never know. So expect the unexpected there, but you heard it here first though. So there you go. But yeah, let's move on over. Keep going here because we're just about out of time. I think I can't quite see how far we've
One
gone, but
more, one more, and who do we
one
got
more,
left?
and then we're just about done, guys. So just hang in there. And if you guys don't mind, go and check out the links that are pinned in the live chat, or go and check out the first links you'll see in the description there. And check out our merch. We got a brand new merch line right now. Robert's got tank tops for men and women out there on his logos. So go and check it out. That'll be at streamlabs.com/Nino the Mystic /merch. Want to check that out while we continue on here. But we're going to move over to David Grush. Remember him? Whistleblower claims. Now, it's been a little while now since David came out, and from what I understand, he's the real deal. I haven't heard anything saying otherwise with this David Grush. Have you?
No,
No,
no.
you didn't even remember this guy. So, anyways, he's a former intelligence officer. David Grush testified before Congress, claiming there was a secret program involving recovered craft and non-human materials. He says crash retrieval programs exist. He says reverse engineering efforts are underway. The claims remain unproven publicly, but the testimony shook Washington. If these programs are real, how long have they been hidden, Robert? How long?
Well, even now we know that this is some stuff that recently came out, but yet I found a picture here of him talking, and it says, National Office from 2019 to 2021. So this has been going on for a lot longer than what we can even imagine. We just think it's recent because of some of the Congress was getting briefed about it this summer. They were arguing, or this last summer, I should say, and then Trump comes out. So now it's all new again. But this has been going on for a long time. Other countries, believe it or not, are more into the disclosure thing than the United States. The United States is zip. Other countries,
yeah, they like to be zipped up on everything. It's only on a need to know basis around here.
And you're from Canada. Wasn't it one of the Canadian heads of state or something there that came out and says, "Oh yeah, we know all about the aliens"?
Our former finance minister, I believe he was. So he was up there. He was in charge of this country's finances. Came out as a whistleblower, saying all about, so there's been a few, and so there's so much. So how long has this been hidden? Well, one can assume that Area 51 is real, then, that they do have what they say.
Again, you're right with the Area 51. They denied it for years that it even existed, and then just 20 years ago or something, or 20 years ago, they finally said, there is a place called Area 51.
That was the beginning of disclosure, people. When they first admitted that was the beginning of the disclosure. That's when they decided, okay, we're right at the end now, because they like to give us, because they're in the long game. They like to give us at least like 20, 30 years probably, right? To mull on this, so a couple of generations will be born into it, and sort of desensitize us and sort of mentally get us ready for it. Because if there was none of this soft disclosure going on for a couple of generations, we would completely lose our mind if it just showed up all of a sudden and we had no clue. You know what I mean?
Again, what you were talking about, distraction. Area 51 is a distraction. Just most of the UFO material goes to a place at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. Yet, in what was it, a couple years ago? Remember, they had that convoy. People got together from all over the country, went out to New Mexico or wherever it was, and they Roswell or something, and they were headed up to Area 51. They were going to crash the gates. Remember that? And thousands of people were headed there. They were saying, "You can't stop us all." Remember that?
It turned into a festival. Yeah, it was like all the vendors, and it was like a big party up there.
Because see, by telling them there's an Area 51, now the eyes are on this place that you can't get to, and everybody's trying to look and see for the UFOs when the UFOs aren't even kept there. They're kept at Wright-Patterson.
Of course, that's a classic move, right? Yeah, of course you're not going to keep it where you say it is. I mean,
I had a friend who worked there and at the Wright-Patterson, and he told me, it's all underground. He says he went down story after story after story, deep underground base. And then he says they traveled on a golf cart for a mile. And I'm thinking, what? He says, men with white lab coats running around, and miles and miles of tunnel. that you could just drive through. And he says, we were only in one little area. I'm like, oh my goodness, where does all these people work and live? Where are they? He says he never seen them, and then like they just come up and get in their car and go home. There would be, he says, there's nobody there. It's like a deserted ghost town, but yet there's you see hundreds of people there.
They probably live on site, so when you're that deep into stuff, you probably don't have a life outside of that. You live and breathe there, like you don't leave there.
Yeah,
you're stuck there. Yeah, you know too much. There's just no way. Like scientists and that's the thing. Like that's the classic move. Like if you were to build a castle or a home with a lot of like hidden rooms and all of this, bunkers and hidden rooms, well, would it be beneficial to leave those workers live after? You know what I mean? They know too much. It's a classic move. That's happened in the past. So, yeah.
Again, with this quick question for you. Does this mean it's almost like a breakaway society?
No, it's just they have they have underground facilities where they live. From what I understand, they spent just recently 21 billion or trillion or something on underground cities. There's probably more going on underneath our feet, to be honest, than there is up top here. Everything on top here is just all just twiddling away. They only build houses to last 20 years, right? They don't build anything, So this is all meant to be gone soon. Like they haven't fixed anything. Buckingham Palace is just falling apart. The airports, planes are just, where they're waiting for the destruction of the surface here. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot more people and activity going on underground right now than there is on the surface.
Yep.
Okay. So, so these people, there's under there, all the scientists, all the workers, who are building and designing and who are in the know, they don't come back up here,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, and then there's beyond the ice wall. That's another thing. Go and watch our Antarctica video. We talk about what we believe is past Antarctica, really the ice wall and what's there. So go and check that out. I might put it up in here later for you guys to watch, because we do have a lot of good material out there that didn't get much views. And same with the underwater one. Go back into our playlists, and go and check out some of the old stuff, because there's some really good gems out there, that have been missed. So so there is a lot more going on. Now, before we run out of time here, we got one more here, which is recent pilot sightings. Commercial pilots and military aviators continue to report strange lights and objects moving in unusual ways. A lot of fast movements, sudden direction changes, and lights moving in formation. All this kind of stuff that we, as we said earlier, we don't have that technology right now that we know of, we know of. But are sightings increasing, or are detection system finally catching up? And that's actually a really good question. That's the thing. And that's kind of goes back to the video we did last week when we talked about ET, AI, and spirit. Maybe it's been that all along. We just didn't have the capability to recognize it, or you know what I mean? Now we're talking about it here. Is ET and all these things all increasing, or is it just that we have the technology to see it now with all our cameras? Everybody's filming everywhere, and the sky is continually being filmed at all times. But 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't. So doesn't mean that there's any more activity. It's just that we're seeing it now.
Well, yeah, that's right. You give a camera to everybody, put a camera up on every wall and every corner. You're bound to catch something at some point, via somewhere. Yeah, it's just
that's just it. So that's the thing. And like I said last week, we talked about, so if you missed last week, go check that out. I think that's probably very true, that we're just, we have the capabilities now with the cameras that we have, and that we didn't have before. I remember getting my first digital camera, and that was the first time I was able to get orbs on it. You know, prior to that, never saw any orbs and photos, you know, but once we got that digital camera, yeah, I was getting a lot. Like I got some famous photos, you know, huge orbs and stuff. And yeah, so it wasn't that the orbs weren't there. They were there. They're around us all the time now. You know, you just don't see them.
Yep.
But the digital camera picks it up. And so it's very interesting. I'm excited for the future, for what's coming, all the new technology. Honestly, like we think we got a lot now, but you just wait. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so yeah.
Well,
So the final discussion, I guess, or final questions. You know, are governments slowly preparing the public for disclosure? I say yes. Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, through this whole show, I've been kind of saying that.
yep.
You know, are these objects advanced human technology? You know, that's another question. If we have had several resets, we probably got to, you know, a certain point in technology and then we got reset.
Yep.
We seem to get in trouble with the technology for some reason. So who's to know to say that the technology that we have today is what we had last reset? And we just, it's there because I do believe that we have archives and, you know, like the Vatican under there, and in Iraq and Iran. Talk about they probably got all kinds of stuff there, you know, that could be maybe old technology. It could be all kinds of things, right, from the previous resets, right?
Yeah.
Not just the giant bones and whatever. It could be technology, and that we just, you know, found it.
Well,
And
again, just like what we do, we're always building these arcs or you know, storehouses to put all our information in. You don't think if there was a reset that those people weren't putting their information into an arc, a seed vault somewhere to make it through the cataclysm? You know, an underground bunker to wait out the storm, and then they never made it, so they all died off and lost where they were. You know.
You know, it's coming to me now. I'm watching a series on Netflix right now, and this was a series that was on TV back in 2011, I think it started. Ended in 2016. So this was a while ago, and I didn't say I wasn't watching TV back then. I'd stopped watching it, but watching it now, and it's very interesting because it's all about the machine recording everything, and they're showing data centers. Back then, we wouldn't know what that was, or at least I wouldn't have. And you know, I think I spewed out some things, you know, on your text message there about, you know, why are they recording all this stuff? Like I get it with the surveillance for criminal activity. You know, you film it for 24 hours or a week or whatever, and then you erase it and then you start all over again. If there's nothing really, you know, of value that you don't need to see, you know what I mean? Like, why are we keeping it all? And why is it that we're keeping every single movement in these things? And this is why we have all these data centers, because they're keeping everything instead of, you know, resetting it. We don't need that stuff. Like, why? You know why they're keeping every movement? And this is just coming to me now, is for the reset. Because if they're going to reset us back, well, you need a template. Then you need to know all our behavior and the things, you know, everything about us. And that's what they're collecting, everything about us, every conversation, everything, from street camera, everything. Everywhere you go, there's a camera. So you're being recorded 24 hours a day and listened to, right?
Yeah.
And I was asking myself, why? But now I get it. It's for the reset. They need to have information for the next reset so that they can set it back. Why would you want to set it back to here, though? Like, I don't know. I don't know these questions, but yeah, no, I think that's what's going on, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense to me. Why are you keeping all this information?
No, I agree. I think they're saving all this information for a reset or a record, a way to plan out what we may do in the future. You know, like a chess game. If you were playing chess and you knew what your partner was going to do 2 moves ahead, you could counter move those moves. Just like, you know, you can plan like, hey, we know what you're going to talk about. We know if you're dangerous. We know what you're going to do tomorrow. So if we put something roadblock up today, you might not accomplish your mission. and it'll
So
change history.
I remember now. So I do remember hearing them having technology already now where they can predict crime, like they can predict it happening before it happens. And that's kind of what this show is all about. This machine records. But in this movie, they only took out, the important crimes and whatever. Everything else was irrelevant. So this guy who actually created the thing, he's taken all the irrelevant cases and helping people out. So before they get killed and before this happens, whatever, they go there to help them out. So that's what the series is all about. But yeah, so and so they were showing us back then, but we didn't know that's what was. But now I can piece it together. And so that's another reason why they're keeping all the information about us, because they can predict our behavior. Like I said, they know exactly what we're going to do before we do it. And so that's kind of so the future is that there's no law enforcement. They won't need it. They'll be able to actually arrest that murderer before he actually murders. They'll be able to avoid all these stupid crimes, and there's a camera everywhere. So they'll just record you and prosecute you right there and take the money out of your account, because that's all digital now. So this is why this is all coming. Okay, so that way there's no law enforcement. You don't need to go to the courts. You don't have to do all this. It's all just done right then and there by the AI machine who's watching you constantly.
Yeah,
so,
look at I was talking about the gas prices going way up, and this is going to drive people electric cars, and electric cars are going to monitor everything you do. Well, you know what?
Electricity's gone up like crazy. I was just in a Facebook group today because I've noticed that. Like, I got rid of my washer and dryer thinking that I'm going to lower my bill. No, the bill is still going up. And all the people saying the same thing. They're getting rid of the freezers. They're getting rid of this, getting rid of that to try and lower the cost. And yet the cost is still going up. What's going on? So no, electric car is not the way to go, folks. They're going to be charging you out of the yin yang for that electricity. Okay, so don't do it. And I'm hoping that that's not the way it's going.
But if you have an electric car, we know that electric cars are run by the internet. They're programmed, they're updated, they're all these things like Teslas. You got to be connected to the internet, or downloads or uploads constantly. And with that, I'm saying is it's going to record, and if you speed, it'll just send you a ticket. If you do the wrong thing, you hard brake, your insurance goes up. If you turn too fast, you go off road, you didn't put on your blinker, it'll send you a ticket. They don't need a cop anymore on every street corner.
That's what I'm saying. And before you even get in and be able to turn that key, which is not a key anymore, but they'll know whether or not you've had enough sleep, because you have your little wristband on you. They know exactly what you're doing at all times. That car will know whether or not you are impaired, whether it's sleep or drugs and alcohol, whatever, and it won't allow you to start that car. So again, you don't need law enforcement anymore. Okay, all these things are smart now, and they all do it for you. So those jobs will be gone. I'm sorry, but those jobs will be gone.
Well, they'll still be policemen, but they'll just be recorders. Like you said, they'll come out, they'll be working on pre-crime instead of.
Well, they'll be coming after the fact. So, if somebody gets killed, the cops will come there to pick up the body and clean it all up and everything. But the actual, or some crew, whatever. But you won't need the patrolling. You won't need all the cars. You won't need all. So, this is all coming. But anyways, that's kind of not what the show is all about. And we're over the hour, I see. I know most people don't want to watch a show more than an hour. And so I do apologize. We did go over it a little bit here, but this is a great discussion. We are getting ready for full disclosure. I know that movie that Spielberg's coming out with in June, is on my birthday, actually. So that's what I'm doing on my birthday. See full disclosure. And there's another movie coming out, I do believe, this weekend. So this is aired on I do believe it's coming out this weekend in the theaters, and I can't remember what it's called now, but it's a guy meeting an alien. Again, this is all part of disclosure. So there's two movies that I know of for sure that's all about UFO disclosure, and from what I hear, Trump is going to be giving us some files about it in July. And so the question is, and I know we discussed this a few days ago about, well, if that's the case, we know there was a movie in the past called Independence Day. Well, that happens to be on July 4th. Now, I'm not putting that out there, guys. Okay, I'm not putting anything out there, but I would stay low this July 4th. Stay away from crowds, stay away from public places, pop that popcorn, and hopefully we'll have a great show. So,
Look up.
with that, yeah, look up. Exactly. That's another movie. Look up. That was brilliant. That's another one. Go. You make sure you watch that one. That one's a good one. Look up. Yeah, perfect. But yeah. Anyways, that concludes this week's video. I guess for you guys, it's spring break here now, so enjoy that time if you have it off. I hope that you do. I hope it's spring in your neck of the woods. Robert, what are your last words tonight?
Oh man, I can't wait to get my digital camera out there and get some UFO pictures. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, go out there and film. You might as well. Yeah, especially if you're out further out from the lights, you'll have an even better. You like in your neck of the woods, you must have an awesome view of the sky out there.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful.
You should set up a camera automatically so it's filming at night while you go and sleep.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And then go back and see if you catch anything, and that will make a great show, actually. You know, we'll watch Robert's UFO videos. Yeah, he'll be into that.
That'd be good.
Yeah. Anyways, I hope that you guys are doing well. Let us know in the comments if you have any comments on anything that we talked about here tonight. Do you have any UFO stories? Would you like to be a guest on our shows? Email us. You know what I mean? All our information is in the description of the video here. So just get a hold of us and we'll go from there. So yeah, thank you all for watching, listening, wherever you are, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.